1113. If you ain't one, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying. Sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and honest. Rider. I get those goosebumps every time. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Off the mags.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. The big match preview away days is back again. Another big game at the weekend where we travel to Craven Cottage, and of course, we're going to preview the game on this channel. And of course, I've got the main man with me, Mr. Chris Hall. How you doing, fella?
All good, mate. Yeah, I've just finished footy, so I'm still a little bit out of breath. But yeah, all good, mate. All good. And I'm just hoping, like many other Newcastle fans out there, I'm sure, and like yourself, Pete, that we maintain this unbeaten run. I really, really hope that we do. We heard a few rumours that have come up today, which I'm sure we'll discuss in more detail. But yeah, other than that, mate, I am all good. How are you doing, Pete?
Yeah, literally just got in this second, so apologies. We're a couple of minutes late going live. Literally walked through the door, picked the button, and we got started. So other than that, I'm all good. The Toons are in the house. Great to have you Toons in there. We'll give you guys a shout out as we're going along. Yeah, it's going to be interesting this weekend. Potentially top of the league if we win. Big enough incentive is that. But we've got to go and get the job done. And of course, as we do on away days, in order to do that, we have to make sure we get the opposition's view. And it's an absolute pleasure to welcome in a favourite of the channel, where we always like to have him on for his opinions on football, not just on Fulham. So we are proud to welcome back Emilio, the Fulham Pulse. Welcome in. How you doing?
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me back on, Pete. Hey, Chris.
I'm
in a car park in the Normandy part of France at the moment. So I'm here in France this week and next week. So I won't be at Craven Cottage. Hopefully, it'll be a good omen for Fulham, because every time I do go there, watch you guys play, we always get stuffed at home. So, but yeah, I mean, I can only do about the first half hour or so, Pete, anyway, because I've got to go out for dinner after that. But yeah, I'm obviously keen to share my views on the game this weekend. Like I said, you win, you go potentially top of the league, but we need to sort of recover a bit of form. We've gone a little bit flat last couple of games, but it won't be an easy game. I think it'll be an entertaining game. But yeah, always happy to be on the show, guys.
No, well, pleasure to have you. And first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to join us whilst you're away in France. So, massive thank you for taking the time to have a bit of a chat about the match on Saturday. And I have to say, I mean, we've had this chat quite a while, myself, Chris, and you, with regards to Fulham matches when Newcastle come to town. And I've got to be honest, they're not straightforward games. They always kind of ebb and flow throughout the game, and there's always talking points along the way. It's not going to be an easy one on Saturday, certainly from a Newcastle perspective. However, it's interesting you talked about your sort of recent form, and in particular going into the last game where you played against West Ham, because there was an argument. And look, I didn't watch all of the game. I watched a little snippet of it, but there was an argument that you should have won it, and West Ham were very fortunate. Look, you would have watched the game probably more than me, and certainly watched it back having been away. What do you make of that? Were you frustrated that you didn't quite get the win?
Yeah, very frustrated. I think we did dominate the game against West Ham. We created enough chances. West Ham offered very little, and again, that's there'll always be. West Ham didn't do good enough, rather than saying Fulham didn't give them the chance. We defended well. We're much better defensively this season than we were last year. But overall, it's finishing the game off. That's what frustrated me. We dominated the game. We got a minute left in the attacking half. keep the ball in the corner, hold possession, try to win a free kick, a corner, or throw in, just run that clock down. But no, we tried to chip the ball into the box, trying to get a second goal when there was no need to do that. It went the other end. West Ham had one chance. Danny Ings, on his day, we know he can be clinical. He's done it many times in the past. And look, he buried the ball in the back of the net. That was as gut-wrenching as it possibly can be. So overall, we did play well, but the concern I've got is where's the attacking quality? Where's the final third is not good enough. Defensively, we look good. We gave West Ham very little very little to offer in the middle of the park, but that final ball into the box is not always good enough. That's the problem. And then Mooney's has dropped off like off the cliff since he went through that purple patch early last spring in February and March. He can't hit the barn door at the moment. His pre-season form was abysmal. He's not looked very good. He got dropped at the weekend. Jimenez scored a good goal. Someone with that experience. He was in the right place and tucked the ball in the back of the net. And that's what we need. But if he's injured, we've got nobody there. And that's my worry. We've strengthened in key areas, but offensively and attacking third, we're no better than we were last season. That's my worry. And coming into this game at the weekend, it'll be an open game. We're at home. We've got to expect to get something out of the game, but these games are always tied against yourselves. You've obviously got the upper hand in recent seasons. That record has got to change at some point. I'm hoping me not being there will result in maybe us picking up something, hopefully getting 3 points on the board. But it won't be an easy game. But the frustration is we haven't got enough quality up front. And I've been saying it since Mitrovic was sold, 15 months ago. He hasn't been replaced. And, if our midfielders, our attacking wide players aren't chipping in with goals, where are the goals coming from? That's the gripe I've got. But we should have got the 3 points against West Ham. We threw it away in the 94th, 95th minute.
And Danny Ings, of all players.
Of
all players. The one that West Ham don't want. They wanted him gone, exactly. And he managed to sneak the ball into the net. And to be fair, Leno was unlucky. I think he did get a hand to it. And
when a team doesn't offer anything and suddenly, bang, out of nowhere, we couldn't clear our lines. But it shouldn't have even got to that. You're in the West Ham half. Keep possession, basic principles of football. You do what the Italian teams have passed. Used to love doing, run that clock down to the 94th, 95th minute, game over, 3 points, and fully deserved. But no, you give your opposition a sniff of a chance when you give away possession. They've got the ascendancy, and they had nothing to lose. And we said it to the guys around me. Danny is going to come. He's got a good record against it. I can see what's going to happen here, and that's because we didn't close the game out. We in possession, create chances, get the better ball in the box, better finishing. We would have been 2-0 up, game over. But when you're 1-0, it just takes a moment, doesn't it?
It does. And look, the week didn't get much better. And Jordan Team for Life has just dropped that into the chat as he normally does. And he just put it on the screen a second ago. We have to talk about the Preston penalty shootout. It seemed like it was going to be never ending. I thought it was going to miss it. It was Daz in our loaded chat that was like talking about the penalty shootout, and I quickly switched over, managed to catch the last few. But realistically, were Fulham looking for a sort of another cup run? Because you had one. Did you get to the semi-finals last year?
Semi-finals last year. We almost knocked Liverpool out on penalty. We lost 3-2 in aggregate. We took the lead at Anfield in the first leg, and they came back to win that 2-1, and then we took the 1-1 at home, and we nearly got a late winner in the home tie to take it to extra time. But look, I thought, hold on, we can replicate that. Preston away, a good tie. We've got Premier League is, for a club like Fulham, it's a priority, right? Staying up is always a key priority. But that second 11 team is good enough, or should have been good enough, to beat Preston in 90 minutes. That's the issue. The fact that it goes to penalties, a lottery, whether you're a Premier League player or a non-league player, no disrespect, anyone can bottle it when it counts. But hardly anyone made a mistake. They were all good, great penalties. The keepers may be suspect on both sides, but we had a second 11 team who, on paper, should be good enough to win Preston away. So I was disappointed. It shouldn't have even got to penalties. That's my point. So some of those sort of fringe players, you're on the bench on Premier League games. If you want to be knocking on that door, you've got to show a lot more. You've got to be more positive, more professional, and show a little bit more attitude and desire to go out and wear that shirt with pride. But we've let a few of the older players go this summer, so we're a bit of a clear up. I think there's more clear out to go next summer as well. But you know, that would have been a nice cup run, right? Preston away, you'd expect us to have gone there, win in 90 minutes, next tie, and you've got players knocking on the door for starting 11 Premier League. But that's the key thing. Use these cup games, to get match experience, and you want to make an impression for your manager that you say, you know what, I'm on the bench week in, week out, but I'm good enough to actually be knocking on that door and start to play in the first 11. But we've lost that opportunity now. So it's the usual old saying: focus on the league, get the points, keep pushing up, and don't get relegated. So yeah, disappointing to lose out so well in the tournament this year. Not good enough, really.
Yeah, it's Chris. I want to get your thoughts on this question I'm going to ask next to Emilio, and you've just touched on. You've got a rid of a lot of the old guard. There's a few players that have moved on. You talk about the likes of Tim Ream. You talk about the likes of Paulinho, who's moved on this summer. There's been a couple of others. Dick Cordova-Reid as well. Bobby Dick Cordova-Reid,
yeah,
ended up at Leicester.
Willian as well. Yeah,
there you go. And interestingly, you've replaced them with, like you said, sort of a younger or mostly younger players. You brought in the likes of Sander Berg in that midfield. You've got the likes of Joachim Andersen that's come back to the club, having been on loan for you, come from Crystal Palace for around the sort of 30-40 million pound mark. Emil Smith-Rowe from Arsenal. A lot of teams were kind of unsure about that, whether to take a punt on him. You did. You got him through the door. And Reece Nelson, who played a part last night as well. So, you know, looking at those changes, and I'd be interesting to know, Emilio, whether, you know, things have changed in terms of, you know, the style of play. You know, are you playing differently? Are you seeing an improvement on the pitch? And I'll ask the same to you, Chris, from what you may have seen, the little snippets of Fulham.
Defensively, for sure, we look a lot stronger. I think Joachim Andersen, he had his first start against West Ham, but I think we've got good backup and good starting defenders now. I think that's the way we've strengthened it. So play from the back. That's Marco Silva's philosophy. He likes to play from goalkeeper, possible to defenders. We look more secure. So again, I look at our man of average goals expected to concede. We're one of the lowest in the division, which is good in that respect. I think we defensively look very tight and very strong. Yeah, Paulinho, I think it was going to be a problem. No one was ever going to be good enough to replace Paulinho. Sander Berg, I wasn't inspired, but he wasn't match fit when he joined. But he had a reasonable when he came on a sub against West Ham. He started to pull a few strings at midfield. Simple passing, kept the ball moving, and moving forward as well, rather than playing backwards or sideways. So I think he will get better as games go on. Like I said, I wasn't inspired, but I think he's a good addition to the squad. Smith-Rowe is getting fitter by the day. He's played 60, 70 minutes each game now. He's not fit enough to play a whole game, but he's got a goal. He's got an assist. He's looking lively. He's got good touch, good eye for goal. So I think he will get better with games. Reece Nelson came on as a sub against West Ham. Looked lively. Looked threatening. Did well. Scored a goal on Tuesday night against Preston in the Cup. So he's going to be a good addition to the squad. So in key areas, we've got some good depth. You know, Pereira playing in a more reserved defensive role. I think he's out of position there. I think he always pulls the strings. He likes to keep the ball moving. He likes to create challenges. Good from set pieces. He just needs to add a few more goals to his tally, and then he'll be a more rounded player. But we've got good width. We've got good play. Iwobi, you know, we've got some good players. Traore's had a great start to the season. Very lively on the right. If his final ball was better, be playing for a club like yourself or a top 4 club. But he's proposing a lot of problems to defenses. But it's that final ball into the third, and just, you know, Mooney's missed a few sitters in some of the league games earlier this season against Leicester and Ipswich. You know, he got dropped at the weekend. Jimenez was in the right place. Nice finish, nice goal, nice move for the goal. But it's the same problem. Where are the goals going to come from? If those plays don't click, and the fluid Fulham like we like to play, like we do with a high press, wide, quick, offensive type of brand of football, then we're going to struggle scoring goals. We won't concede many, but we're going to struggle to concede. So again, playing from the back, we are a lot tighter defensively. And Newcastle, I think, will struggle to break our defence down. You might get frustrated as well because we're not giving much away. But if you're going to get a handful of chances against big teams, you've got to take them, and that's just my concern.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Chris. I'm going to come to you with this just because they have made a number of those signings that have come through the door. Some interesting ones, some players that we've been linked with as well, that have walked through the door at Fulham. Do you see Fulham kicking on with that influx of talent that's come through the door? And as Emilio has just said, they're looking harder to beat now. Is that a concern for you going into Saturday? Oh, I think you're on mute.
What a start! Sorry, guys. Going to Craven Cottage is always difficult. It's always a difficult time. I know we've had success there recently, but and as Emilio said, things have to change eventually, don't they? And we've gone on a fantastic run. We've had a really good start to the season, Emilio, as you know. We haven't played very well. We have in parts, but not consistently. We haven't done a full 90 or even done a really good half from memory anyway. So it is a concern because, as you say, Pete, the likes of Sanderberg, Emil Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson and Anderson, solid signings. And yes, they've lost Paulinho. But then you add to that, the likes of Bassi, who I'm a fan of, Robinson, Traore. Fulham have got some really, really good players. And I think they've established themselves now as a solid Premier League outfit. What the weekend will bring, I don't know. I think a lot of it will depend on how we turn up. We know last season we struggled away from home. Hopefully we've turned a little bit of a corner. But I'm not going to count my chickens on it. And as I say, for me, it's about certain players turning up. And as loads of people in the chat are already talking about, I think it will depend on who starts as well. But in terms of Fulham this season, I think it'll be a difficult game, but I think they'll be absolutely fine. For me personally, I don't know whether you agree with this or not, Emilio, but for me personally, I see Fulham probably just missing out on the top 10, but I think you'll be comfortably at the top of the bottom end of the table. I think you'll finish 11th, 12th, something like that. I do think Fulham are a really good side, and I think if you get more potent players in attacking wise, you could push into that top 7, top 8, definitely.
Yeah, great.
But maybe just another window. Maybe it's just one more window, I'd say.
Agreed. I agree with that. And I think it's easier said than done. Obviously, we've had to sell players. Again, these FFP rules and this all. You've got to. You don't. No one knows exactly how it all works. To be honest, so there's always a bit of hesitancy. We've spent money on Anderson. We've spent money on Smith-Rowe. Yes, we've sold Mitrovic a year ago. We've sold Jay Stansfield, one of our backup strikers, to Birmingham City. Clearly Birmingham wanted him. They paid us big money, 14-15 million for a third. You can't say no to that. So bank that money, put it in the pot. Maybe in January time, I think when these rules allow us to maybe buy more players. Again, I'm not an expert on how this all works, but I suspect there will be another striker forthcoming in January, if not sooner, because I know we've still got an extra loan player to sign, and there are a few strikers who have played in the Premier League or good enough to play in the Premier League who are not on any contract at the moment. So go and grab a loan signing till January, get some more potency up front. And like you said, if we had Mitrovic and Pauli in this team, would become a top 7 team. Starting 11, well, I think we're a good match for anybody. But if you're lacking goals and lacking quality in the area that counts, then we're going to have a problem. So keep it tight. It will be a tight game on Saturday. I think, like you said, you've not set the world alight, but you win on Saturday, you're top of the league. We haven't set the world alight, but we're being steady. We haven't been battered. We narrowly lost to Man United. Should have been in West Ham. So overall, I'll take some comfort from that. But the common denominator in all the games this season is not scoring enough goals. And the chances we've created, we've not taken them. Had we taken those, we might be knocking. We could be winning on Saturday and finishing top and being top of the league by the game. So it's, again, you've got to take your chances in this league, and if you don't, it's clinical, right? Goals win games. It sounds obvious. Goals do win games, but if you don't take your chances, you're going to pay the price, and that's what's happened against West Ham and certainly against Man United in the first game of the season, because they were awful, but we just lacked a bit of quality where it counted.
Definitely, I would agree with that. Watched a chunk of that game, the first game of the season, and it didn't look like Man United were going to ever sort of get that goal that was going to win them the game. And it was away from home, first game of the season. Never an easy place to go, but I thought you equipped yourself really well. And as you mentioned, the league table, Chris has touched on it. We touched on it at the top of the show. We could potentially go top of the league with a win there, yourselves in 12th place. Just really quickly, Amelia, before we sort of talk about the game in a bit more detail and tactics, from your perspective, what have you made of Newcastle's start? I know you just mentioned that we hadn't started really well, but 10 from 12 is not bad. What would you say would be a realistic target for Newcastle United this season?
Yeah, and I think before the thing, I think you're obviously lambasting the lack of signings in the summer, right? I think maybe expectations were a little bit more reserved this year for Newcastle fans compared to 12 months ago, and I thought maybe top four might have been a little bit out of the equation for you guys. I thought top six, definitely. Top four I thought would have been a struggle, but you've equipped yourself well. The fact that you're saying you're not playing particularly well, but you ground out a good result against Wolves on the weekend from a goal down. That's a very positive result, but I always say it's a mark of a good team if you're not playing well and still finding a way to win. That's always a good thing, right? So, but I think you guys are a little bit surprised where you are, because I think you probably all had slight reservations of your transfer window or lack of signings per se.
I'm not saying it's a bit of a surprise. I think, and this is an interesting one, so I'll sort of bring Chris into this one, because we're looking at the situation. We're on 10 points, third in the league. Chance to go top if we win on Saturday. And you would expect that people would be quite positive with that. But I'm not going to lie. Across social media and across the fan base, there are sections of it that seem to be quite negative about it. And that's probably, apologies, probably down to the performance. The performances haven't been all action. There haven't been silky smooth, fantastic football. But we've had moments in the game. I would kind of call it patches. I would say it's more patches of play within games where we've played well, and within those patches we've done enough to win the game, and we've had moments, just like, for example, against Wolves. And it's for me personally, I find it baffling that we're sitting third in the league. I'm absolutely buzzing right now. I'm buzzing. I've said after every game that we've won, we've not played well. We've ground it down, but we've got the points, and ultimately that's all that matters. And I'm buzzing right now. The performances for me will come, but I'm surprised by the amount of negativity that's out there. Considering that, and like Chris, I'll bring you in on that, just because that's kind of how I'm feeling at the moment, and I'm listening to various bits of content with regards to Newcastle United. I'm seeing things on socials, and I'm thinking, what? Why is everyone so negative? We could go top on Saturday. Like, are you feeling the same?
Yeah, I do, mate. I do, and I think sometimes people need to sit back and actually, reflect on where we are. I mean, I've been saying it the last couple of weeks. There's certain games this season that we've picked up maximum points or even got a point, and I've said last season we wouldn't have done that. We wouldn't have done that. We wouldn't have beat Wolves last season. If it was the same scenario, we wouldn't have beat Wolves. First game of the season against Southampton, when we went down to 10 men, we probably wouldn't have won that game. We wouldn't have hung on in there. So I must admit, Pete, I feel quite encouraged at the minute, because we've yet to hit consistently 4th, 5th gear, and we're still picking the points up. That age-old saying of the sign of a good team is when they get points and they don't play well. So for me, and as well, I was listening to TalkSport on the way home in the car, and one of the I think it might have been Danny Murphy or someone like that, and he was saying obviously the season's going to be a little bit different this season, particularly for Champions League teams. And obviously tonight we've got Champions League football. The longer that goes on, the longer the Champions League progresses, the more that the likes of City, Liverpool, Arsenal, etc. are going to struggle. They're going to, and Villa, of course, they're going to struggle. And when the European football really kicks in, that's when we'll see, I think, the big benefit, because we've got that break. We've got that nice break in between to keep the players fresh. We don't have any distractions. Yes, if you'd ask me now, would you prefer to not have European football? I think it's a blessing, but obviously I would prefer to have European football this season. So I'm not, I'm not making out that I didn't want European football, because it did. But we've got to see it as an advantage to ourselves. And I think the fact that we're third in the league, to me, I'm just encouraged, because I think we'll wait until we do start performing well, wait until we do start putting the ball in the back of the net and looking a bit more comfortable. for longer periods during the games. I think it's only going to be good for us. And the longer that this unbeaten run continues, the better. I do hope that we see the best version of ourselves on the weekend. I'm sure Emilio doesn't. But, I think if we perform to the levels that we know we can, we can perform and we can pick up a lot of points this season. The fact that, the away form was so poor last season, if we can just, improve that by 20-30%, that's going to make a massive difference. Keep St. James's as a fortress, keep picking up the points at home, try and avoid the injuries. I think it's going to be a promising season. So I get why people are a little bit negative in terms of we've not been playing great, but keep looking at that Premier League table and look where we are, and we still haven't really, hit those heights that we know we can. So for me, I'm just encouraged.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you're on the same wavelength as myself. I'm sure Daz is exactly the same, and I'm sure there's so many in the chat that feel the same. As long as we're picking those results and we're moving up the table, that's all that matters. I'm sure, Emilio, if you were picking up the points, not necessarily playing the great football that you kind of want to see, I'm sure you'd be happy with your Fulham team doing exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's, I don't want to sound too downbeat. I think overall, we've got good defense, good goalkeeper, good defense. That starting 11 on paper will give top teams the run for their money. We saw that last season, and we didn't have midfield last season. I don't know we had Pauline in midfield, but we thumped the likes of Brighton, Newcastle at home. We beat them 3-0. Tottenham, Tottenham 3-0 was our best performance of the season last year. We absolutely annihilated them. We gave Liverpool runs for their money home and away in the cup. We narrowly lost at Anfield in the 94th minute last season in the league game. So this Fulham team is good enough to give top teams a run for their money. My concern last season was consistency. A bit like yourselves, Chris. You're talking about your away form not being good enough. I think Fulham was up and down. You can beat Tottenham, absolutely annihilate them 3-0, and then we can go and lose away to Bournemouth by the same score. No disrespect to Bournemouth, but it's a consistency. So if we can sort that out this year, which I think we will do, because we're going to be harder to beat. But the flip side of that is, have we got enough quality? Can we create enough chances? And can we be clinical where it counts to convert those draws into wins from last? That's the key thing for me. So I think Marcus Silva recognised the fact that we were either winning or losing each week. You see our record. We're not conceding many, we're not scoring many, but we're harder to beat. And that's a positive. But how do you then start to create better quality, find better balls in the box, be more lethal in the penalty area, and convert your chances? Then we will push on. I think we will be safe. I think we're good enough to be 12th, 13th, like you said, Chris. I predicted 13th, 14th, but a better quality striker, for 13th can easily become 9th or 10th, and that's the difference. It's just another striker can pick up 10 goals. That's another 3 or 4 places up the league. So it sounds easier said than done. You've got to trust the owners and managers to go and find the right striker, but clearly, Michael Silva will be scratching his head saying that performance from Muniz on Tuesday night against Preston, not good enough. And who else does he have? That's a concern. So good for opposition fans, but from a Fulham perspective, something has to change there. So we need to get that. So I don't know, that amber button needs to go to green, and suddenly the goals will start to flow. But who knows? But it's a tough division, but goals win prizes at the end of the day. That's the bottom line, unfortunately.
Yeah,
definitely. And from a Newcastle perspective, what Jano's just put on there, hopefully the team performance is on the way, and hopefully it is. But the fact that we can have those quality players that can win or score just on a whim, like Harvey Barnes did at the weekend.
Yeah,
we've not always had that in our team, and the fact that we've got that now, and not just relying on Isak to do the business, or Callum Wilson or Gordon. We've got Barnes that can do it. Bruno can win us a game. He's done that before, as has Joe Linton, as Sandro Tonali is capable of doing. And you look through the team and you're thinking each one of those players could win you the game, and that's the beauty of building a really good, solid team.
Look at our bench in recent weeks, Pete. The bench says it all. I mean, last season, Emilio, our bench was dreadful. Like at times, we were literally down to the bare bones. I think at one stage
injuries.
Injuries. We have 3. I think at one stage we have 3 goalkeepers. It was mental with loads of academy players. I mean, you look at our bench now and you go, and bloody hell, he can make an impact. He can make an impact. He can make an impact. And we saw it at Wolves. We saw it at half time at Wolves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know we've not got much time with you. I know time is short, but me and Chris will continue on just for a little bit because there is a few other bits that we're going to talk about. But look, I just wanted to jump to the tactics board very, very quickly, just to have a look at that. Let's just grab it. Because it'd be great to have your 11 that you think you will select at the weekend. So if you want to just run us through that, Amelia.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously Burton Leno will be that. Again, the concern here, our backup keeper not good enough. So we've let our backup keeper leave on a free transfer in the summer because clearly he wanted more game time. Our reserve goalkeeper not good enough. We saw so Leno absolutely must stay fit and not get suspended. Otherwise, we've got a problem there. Anthony Robinson will be our left back for sure. Again, a lot of big clubs are still knocking on the door for him. I think I'm surprised he's still at the club, but he was my player of the season last year. He's had a pretty good start to the season again this year. So again, big clubs are sniffing after him. So he'll be our left back. In central defence, you've got Bassi on the left and Anderson on the right.
Okay.
So Anderson, yes, Issa Diop had a good 3 games before last weekend, but you pay 30 million for a international defender. It's only a matter of time before he starts to accomplish himself and play week in, week out. He'll eventually be our captain, no doubt. I see him being a future captain. So that defensive partnership is important to strengthen game by game. And Kenny Tete is keeping Castagna out, which is a surprise. So I think Kenny Tete will come back as right back and being a regular this season in the league. So that's a pretty strong back 5, including the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
In midfield, you got Sasha Lukic, who I thought has had a good start to the season. He's and I've said he's not playing in the shadow of Paulinho now. And that's the key thing. Last season he was in and out of games. Paulinho was the player everyone was talking about. Lukic never really got a chance. He's now come out of his shell a little bit. He's actually starting to get involved. The fact that he got a yellow card against West Ham and then got taken off within the hour, I think that made a difference in that game against West Ham. If he was there playing for the 90 minutes, I don't think West Ham would have got that equaliser. But he's had a good start to the season. He's sort of, he's not everyone's biggest fan from a player perspective, but he's actually done a good job. And we've seen Andreas Pereira playing in a much more defensive role. So I don't see Marco Silva changing that at the weekend. So Pereira will accompany Lukic in that sort of central midfield area.
Okay, is it 2?
Yeah, them 2 there, exactly. Yeah. On the left, you'll probably see Emma Smith-Rowe will drift on the left-hand side there and link up with Iwobi. This is where it starts getting. You've got a lot of similar players. You've got Pereira, Iwobi, Smith-Rowe, all very similar. Smith-Rowe will play on that left side, and you'll probably see Iwobi playing in the triangle between Pereira, Iwobi, and Smith-Rowe in that little triangle there. Them 3 playing there.
Here?
Yeah, around that area there, and them 2. That's the sort of triangle they tend to play at the moment. Pereira sometimes just feels a little bit lost in that holding defensive central midfielder. I'd like to see him press on, but then again, who's going to be compromised? That's the problem. We've got similar type players. I'm uncertain about Traore. Traore's I'd like to see Traore more as a coming off the bench impact player for 30 minutes, but he's had a good start to the season. I think he'll persevere with Traore and try to see if we can stretch your defense in the first 30 minutes or so, trying to get that early goal. But he's a threat on that race. He's been actually pleasantly surprised playing in that role this season. And then you'll play Raúl Jimenez will be our lone striker. He's the only one we've got. Muniz needs to find a way to get some form, confidence, but that's how I see us playing in that midfielder. You'll see Pereira, Iwobi, and Smith-Rowe sort of all interchanging, interlinking, but Pereira's going to be the one with set pieces, spreading the ball around. Robinson, I think the key for you is to keep Robinson as far back as you possibly can, because if he can start to link up well with Iwobi and Smith-Rowe, then he'll cause your defense problems. But if you can keep Robinson back, then you may have more chance to press, play on the break and catch us off guard. But on the left, we're solid. On the right, Kenny Tete and Traore, that link-up play needs to strengthen. I haven't seen much synergies between the 2 of those there, but Tete's had a good start to the season defensively. Traore goes only one way. He likes to take plays on, as you know, but his final ball not always good enough. But I think that's on paper, that's a good 11 there, as far as I'm concerned. That's a strong 11.
Yeah, definitely. He's some
Yeah.
strong players in there. Where do the goals that you've scored? Where do they tend to come down? Is it down Traore, who's had a good game or good start to the season? Is it down the left hand side? Is there a particular style of play that you're seeing starting to emerge from the Fulham players?
Certainly on the left, I think Smith Rowe's sort of playing more advanced, where I'd expect him to play against Man United because he wasn't match fit. He played in the Pereira role. They're playing a much more more of a defensive midfield, but he's playing now in his natural position there. So Robinson, Smith Rowe, and Iwobi are linking up well at the moment. Smith Rowe assisted at the goal at the weekend, so I think you'll see that's where the biggest threat from Fulham will be. Traore, with his pace, who knows what you see with him, very unpredictable at times, but on his day, if he can get his final ball, get more final balls in the right place at the right time, then he picked up a goal against Ipswich as well. So he got himself into the 6-yard box, loose ball, put it in the back of the net. So I think we've got goals outside of the number 9 role, shall we say, Raúl Jiménez. But it's if the wide men and the central attacking players don't create enough chances, where are the goals going to come from? That's just my concern. But overall, on paper, that 11 is a good enough squad. And starting with throwing when you get to your reserve, your bench. Are there any players that can come off that bench and really make a difference? That's slightly a worry when you've lost sort of key established Premier League players. The other players on Tuesday night didn't do the job against Preston, so their confidence will be low. So this will be, I think, the starting 11 on Saturday.
Interesting. And Chris, I'm going to come to you with our 11 in just a second, but I know, Amina, you have to shoot. First of all, thank you for coming and joining me for this part of the show. And of course, just before you go, we can't let you leave without the old prediction.
Gotta be positive, right? I think we've got to bounce back after the West Ham disappointment and then getting knocked out of the cup. So I'm going to say I'm not there. 2-1 Fulham. I'm going to say I'm going to be positive, and I think we can. It's about time we turn you guys over a little bit. You've had some good wins against us in the last few seasons. Some fortuitous ones. I think the home game end of last season wasn't the best game in the world, was it? We got a late win at that game. That one again. We should have closed that game out, but we had enough chances to win that game early on. But again, if you don't take your chances, you don't win games. But I'm going to be quite positive. I think we'll bounce back and win on Saturday, 2-1.
Okay, 2-1 it is. We'll do our predictions later on in the show. But Emilio, massive thanks for you joining us. Just plug your new content just before you leave.
Yeah, so you find me. I've just started building it. So I still do the shows on Cottage Talk, but I've now got my own at the Fulham Pulse on Twitter. But if you follow me on www.fulhampulse.com, you'll find all the links to Twitter, YouTube. It's early days, just trying to build some following. So any Newcastle fans, please do follow me, spread the word, and I'll come on these shows more often. But apologies, I can't do the full show tonight, Pete. But you know how much I love doing the show with you guys.
No problem at all. Absolute pleasure. And look, enjoy the rest of your time in France.
Thank you very much.
Lucky, and hope the weather treats you well. And look, we'll push out your content as well and make sure people are following and getting involved as well. But
thanks,
you
guys.
take care, Olivia.
Thanks, Pete. Cheers, Chris. See you soon.
Take care,
Enjoy
Emilio.
the game Saturday. Take care.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
Always a pleasure to have Emilio on. Great guy, great guest as well. And look, we've not finished here yet. We've got lots more to talk about, and we've got some more Newcastle United content to talk about with regards to the big game at the weekend. Chris, let's start with your lineup, mate. So let's flip it over to Newcastle United, and let's see what 11 you're going to put together for us, mate. Go for it.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough this week, Pete. I'm not gonna lie. Right, let's go. Let's start easy. So let's go with Nick Pope in goal.
Let's do it. Nick Pope.
Okay. We'll just leave it there, Pete.
Already, mate. But let's just say really quickly, Nick Pope, what a save at the weekend. Outstanding. The keepers in the game late on.
Oh,
you hear me?
Wonderful. Yeah, I can hear you, mate. I can hear you.
Yeah,
sorry, my internet is all over the place this evening.
Go for it, mate. You crack on with the team. I think you're a little bit behind on your internet, mate. I don't know if you want to jump off and come back on. Yeah, we go. He's going to come back on in just a second. His internet is down a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see what his team is and what he puts together. I know what my team will be. People in the chat, put in who you think that you're going to choose at the weekend. For me, key positions are in this area here. Who's going to start at right back? It's going to be an interesting one. Equally, who's going to start in this left wing berth on Saturday? And for me, not going to lie, I'm just going to put it out there. Let's know what you think. Who's going to start in this left-hand side of the midfield three? Here he is. He's back. So let us know what you think in those key positions that I've just mentioned. But Chris, don't worry. Keep going, mate. Crack on. I was just saying just initially, Nick Pope, world-class save, fantastic save to effectively secure us the point. But carry on with your teammate. Keep going.
Okay, mate. So, I think the easiest ones are centre-backs this week. So I'm going to say Dan Burn and Fabian Schär.
Yeah.
So I think that's a nice, easy one.
Go for it. Top man. Love it. Crack on. Keep going.
Okay. I think Lewis Hall is going to get the nod at left back.
Ooh.
I think he's going to stick with Lewis Hall. Yeah.
Yeah. Lewis.
Now, I might surprise you a bit here, Pete.
Yeah, go for it. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, up against Traore, difficult, but I think it could be the turn of pace. And I think that's something that Eddie Howe will have in mind. And I think he wants to show a bit of confidence in Lewis Hall. I mean, you could quite easily put Lloyd Kelly in there, quite easily. But I think he'll stick with Lewis Hall. I've just got a feeling. Now, the right back, I might surprise you here, Pete.
Okay.
I am going to go with Kieran Trippier.
Trips in.
I think he's going to start Trippier.
Well, what's your reasonings, Brandon? What do you think? Why do you think he might make that decision?
Well, Tino has struggled a little bit the last couple of games, I would say. I wouldn't say he's played bad, but I think he's had a couple of moments. And also, I wonder whether Eddie has just been kind of holding back on Trippier, given, that, like, obviously he didn't have much of a summer. And maybe he's just now, slowly integrating him in. And we've seen the impact that Trippier's made when he's come on in recent games. So I just have a feeling, particularly as he had the international break with him as well, I have a feeling that he might go with Kieran Trippier this game. So that's just a feeling I've got.
Yeah, interesting. Crack on me, team, and we can have a discussion about it afterwards. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's not easy. Not easy.
No, it's not. It's not. The midfield, you will. I think you'll like the midfield, Pete. I'm going to go with Bruno in the holding.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's a nice, easy one. On the right side of midfield, I think it's going to be Sandro Tonali. I think I said to you boys, didn't I, in the last game, I fancied him to go with Longstaff. I think he's going to unleash Tonali for this game. I think he's waited, and I think now he's going to just put him in. Because again, came on, impact sub, did brilliantly. I think now's the time to unleash him. I really do. The only argument where you could say that he might stick with Longstaff is that maybe he'll hold Tonali for the City game. But I think he might want to get him his minutes now.
Yeah, no, fair point. Fair point. This is one of my interesting ones here on that left-hand side. Lots of talks in Sunday about, potentially playing Willock there. Joe Linton not being great last couple of games. Not playing Joe Linton, putting him on the bench. How do you see it? And what not necessarily what would you do, but what do you think Eddie Howe might do? What might he go for?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, mate, this is one of the easiest decisions for me. I've been really surprised, and I'll use this word. It's quite a harsh word. I've been very surprised at the disrespect towards Joe Linton, because for me, yes, he didn't have a great game last game, and yes, he's probably not been at his best this season. But Joe Willock's come on and he's done fantastically well. No doubt about it. And I'm a fan of Joe Willock. But I think some people have got short memories on Joe Linton. Like, you know, he scored the winner against Southampton. Did that fantastic pass. I think it was in was it the Bournemouth game? He did that pass.
Yeah. No, Tottenham. He set
Tottenham.
the Isak goal, the winning goal.
That's right. Yeah, he knocked Maddison off, didn't he, and played the ball through. Yeah. So for me, I think he's got to go with Joe Linton. Not to mention taking the Joe Linton argument to one side. I think as well, you know, Joe Willock's only just come back. Yes, he's looking absolutely fantastic. He's looking brilliant, but you know, don't throw him in the deep end. You've got Joe Linton there, who's had a full preseason. He's ready and raring to go. Yes, he's not quite hit that height yet, but I wouldn't be dropping Joe Linton. Absolutely no way. For me, Joe Linton starts in the centre of the park all day. I'm not saying Willock won't come on, and I'm sure he'll have a good impact. But for people to suggest that Joe Linton needs dropping, I think it's crazy. I genuinely think it's crazy. So for me, Joe Linton, that's my midfield three. I think that's the three he'll go with. The only question mark for at the moment, I suppose, is whether Longstaff will retain his place and he saves Tonali for the home game against City. I'm not sure, but I've just got a feeling he put him in. Now, what I want to ask you, Pete, is, and I know we haven't touched on it yet. Are we going with what I think personally, or what I want in terms of the striker? Because from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like Isak's going to start.
Well, this is the thing. Obviously, it's not the best news to be hearing that Isak could potentially be out for the game at the weekend. There's rumours of him being injured, got an injured toe. I'm going to tell you my feelings on it. I think he plays.
You think so?
I think he starts. I remember when the issue I think came about, and it was basically Isak was on the counter attack with the ball, and I think he runs through the middle. Gordon's on the left. Murphy makes a run on the right, and I think he tries to play Murphy in, and it kind of rebounds off a defender, and then he kind of kicks it again. And I think after the first contact, I think he gets a bit of a kick on the toe by the defender, and he keeps running, and then he kind of like hops a little bit after that. But he played on up until he injured his eye after that point. Now, they've already made it clear that his eye injury isn't going to keep him out. So for me, I'm looking at this situation, I'm thinking, okay, he played on with his toe being the way it was. I think it's maybe more of a precaution than anything else. I think there's more chance of him maybe being rested against AFC Wimbledon than there is him being rested against Fulham. That's just my opinion. Got no information on that. Could be completely wrong. I just think he plays.
Yeah. Well, tell you what. Let's go with Isak through the middle.
Okay. I mean, if he's down to play, he's going to start. He's going to start, of course.
Yes. And in that case, that will finish it off nicely then, because it makes it a bit easier for me. I think it will be Anthony Gordon on the left.
Okay.
And I hope it's Harvey Barnes on the right. I hope. Now, obviously, we always talk about the interchanging, and I'm sure they'll swap at some point. Hey, you know, Alexander Isak could push out to the left. You know, this is the beauty of that front three. They could actually all play anywhere. I know Isak doesn't predominantly go on the right, but you know, you've got Barnes who can go on the left. You've got Gordon who can go on the right. You've got Gordon who can go in the middle. Barnes can probably play through the middle as well. So you know, there's a lot of fluidity there. But that is the three I would start, and where I'd start them up top. I think that will be the starting 11. I mean, somebody in the chat, Paul Spragg, big shout out to Paul. Paul says that there's rumours Joe Linton's not been training and he's got a groin issue. So I hope that's not true. And in which case we could well see whether it's Tonali who comes in for Joe Linton and maybe he keeps Longstaff in, or Willock comes straight into the starting 11. I don't know. But I would think, I mean, Pete, it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on this, but I think if If Joe Linton's fit, I think Joe Linton starts. If Joe Linton's not fit, it could be that Sean Longstaff retains his place rather than Willock. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a really interesting conversation. I mean, look, Joe Linton's a warrior. I think he's in the squad Saturday, and I think his frustrations of maybe not playing well in previous games will spur him on to want to play in this game. There was rumors of him. There's pictures of him sort of training in the gym. That doesn't really give it away, but I think there's been some pictures of him on the training ground as well. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I see him in the training ground pictures, which says to me he's on grass, which always fills me with confidence when a player plays on grass in the build up to a game. So I've not got an issue with that, and I don't have an issue with Joe Linton playing. I do think. Look, I think there's been a lot of arguments and a lot of points been raised about Eddie Howe having players on the bench like the likes of Tonali and Harvey Barnes and various others, and I've been one of them. I'm going, play your best players. I said it on Sunday after we beat Wolves. Play your best players. But I'm starting to, like, now I've had time to sort of reflect on it. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, is this a tactic? Is this what he's doing? Because we didn't have that sort of strength to come off the bench last season when we had all these injuries, and ultimately it's working. It's working at the moment. We're bringing off firepower off the bench, and they're helping us to win games. Tonali helping us to win games. Barnes helping us to win games. And they're doing it. Joe Willock, who I thought was brilliant when he came on against Wolves, they're helping us win games. And sometimes you're going to need these players to come on when games are kind of ebbing and flowing, or when players are getting tired on the opposition's end. You bring on the firepower to get you through and to get you moments that are going to win the game. So I can kind of see where he's doing it. But when you've got an opportunity to go on and potentially win the game and go top of the Premier League, you do have to, I think, play your strongest players. My issue is I'm not actually sure that Tonali is going to start.
Do you not think?
I've just got a feeling that Longstaff's going to play again. And with in mind, keeping in mind firepower coming off the bench. So if Willock and Tonali come off the bench, it's just I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that midfield is the midfield that starts the game. Because you've still got then Joe Willock to come off the bench, who's got that energy and that running, and still impact the game and change things if Joe Linton is struggling with his groin, or if Joe Linton's not necessarily playing well. I do think it's really important that these two start building up a connection. I really do think that Bruno and Tonali need to make that connection last. And the only way that happens is if they start playing regularly together. It's the only way you build up a positive relationship. I actually like this here because I think one or two people have mentioned it in the chat as well, the connection down this side with Tonali, the control of the football with Bruno coming in this little triangle area here. Shaw bring it forward. In that area, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, Bruno, Shaw, Trippier, Tonali, that are all very, very comfortable on the ball. And I think actually there's a lot of opportunity to create moments down this right-hand side. And if Harvey Barnes is playing down here, I think he'll get fed a lot of good balls that he can potentially get the best of and make the most of. So I think that's a real potential of particularly those 4 players. Again, I'm not sure if Barnes is going to play. I hope he does. I really hope we go with that front 3. But again, I've just got a feeling that Jacob Murphy could potentially start the game for that reason. And I'm really torn with it because I do like this team. I do think that this team should potentially start the game. With Hall, my only concern...
What are your thoughts on Hall, Pete?
Look, I think Hall will probably start most games in that left-back berth. I just worry about his form and how quick and powerful he is in defensive, in his attacking areas and in Hall's defensive areas. Because Hall's defensive recoveries are not great. And we saw it again against Wolves. He can get forward and manipulate the ball. He's got the engine to run back and forth, but he can get caught out at times. And we can't afford that away from home. I think if you had Sven Botman here, I think you could get away with playing him because Sven Botman is quicker, stronger. He's a better defender than Dan Burn, can come in and cover in these areas here. But I just got a sneaky feeling that he's going to go with Lloyd Kelly because Lloyd Kelly, 6'3", 6'4". He's good in the air. He's fast, just as quick as Lewis Hall. Can cross a ball as good as Lewis Hall, but he can match Traore, and that's my only thought there with where it could potentially change.
Yeah.
And look, I'm giving you my responses. It could be all up in the air and very different. But hey, isn't that the great thing about Newcastle United at the moment? We've got lots of options in those positions. But if you're going to give me a team to start the game, mate, this is a team that I'd have all day long, 100%.
Yeah.
Just really quickly before we go off the tactics board, who are you worried about from the Fulham perspective? So Emilio gave his team there. That's his 11. Who are you worried about, and where on the pitch are you worried about from a Newcastle defensive perspective by keeping the ball out the net?
I'm probably most worried about Emile Smith-Rowe. He started the season really, really well. I think he's going to be a big threat. Andreas Pereira is interesting. He's normally, as Emilio said, he's normally more attacking. So it will be interesting. I actually wonder, based on what Emilio says, I wonder whether Marco Silva might try and put a bit of an ace up his sleeve, and maybe, who knows, he might even bring Sander Berg in and perhaps push Pereira further up the pitch just to confuse us. I don't know. Certainly, if what he's saying and he feels a little bit restricted, and because Andreas Pereira isn't really defensive, he is more attacking. And I think last season he played predominantly as a 10 for them. I know obviously they've got Emile Smith-Rowe now and they've got Alex Iwobi. Alex Iwobi doesn't worry me in the slightest, by the way. So I hope Alex Iwobi starts in that number 10 because I think Bruno will dominate him, being honest. Adama Traore, he's like Alan St. Maximin on steroids, isn't he? He's incredibly powerful, incredibly quick. He's a big lad, but it's that end product. And as Emilio rightly said, he's the kind of player, isn't he, where if he had that end product consistently, he wouldn't be playing for Fulham. He'd probably be playing for like an Arsenal, a Man City, Tottenham, someone like that. So he's always a threat because you never quite know what you're going to get with him. But yeah, I mean, the big one for me is Emile Smith-Rowe. I think he's the big threat because I think he'll be given that license to drift. So it just means that, the likes of Kieran Trippier, the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, the likes of Joe Linton are going to have to make sure that they've got one eye on him. It could even be a bit of a man marking job. You could even find that, Eddie Howe says if it's Tonali, if it's Longstaff, listen, keep an eye on Emile Smith-Rowe, give Bruno a hand, because we've seen, Pete, in transitions of play, Bruno's recoveries are not the best. And if Emile Smith-Rowe gets a couple of yards on Bruno, it's done. He's past him. He's a quick lad, Emile Smith-Rowe, and we don't want him penetrating, our back line, because we will be under pressure, and Dan Burn and Fabian Schär will not want Emile Smith-Rowe sprinting at them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've moved Smith-Rowe and Iwobi because you could quite easily see this transition throughout the game, in that he comes into this pocket and starts to play within this area because he likes to get on the board, and Iwobi then plays down the wing because he likes to run at his fullback. So you can see them transitioning, or you can see it kind of transitioning into here. Berg comes into this position, which I was surprised that Emilio didn't pick Berg, because I thought he'd be a player that would definitely start for them. And you could see maybe almost like a formation like this, a very defensive minded that would just stay back and allow these guys to go forward and attack. So I do agree. I think Emile Smith-Rowe might well be the key to this. He is a very, very talented player, very good player.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to keep him quiet. I think Trippier is more than good enough to do that. I think there's enough there to keep him quiet, but it's just this trickery and his movement into these areas. I think Shaw, his concentration wasn't there for the goal that was conceded against Wolves. He's going to have to be on the ball, because not only are Burn and Shaw going to have to keep Jimenez quiet, because he'll be a handful, a little bit like Larson last Sunday, who had a good game for Wolves. He's going to have to be wary of these runs either from Iwobi or Smith Rowe in and around this area, because sometimes he's a very, very good defender and he's been superb for us, but he does have that ability to kind of switch off just in little moments. So he's going to have to be switched on. But if anyone's going to keep him switched on, Trippier, if he plays in that little pocket there. So I agree. I do, like I say, have those concerns about Traore just being direct and running at Hall. But then we forget that if Joe Linton's there, what better guy to come up against him and stop him from playing, cutting him out in these areas than Traore. So it could work. It could work playing Hall there. And the one thing about Traore, he doesn't like going here. He hates bending. And that's where, if you can get Joe Linton to almost kind of sit in and just tuck in on him and let Hall come and link with Gordon and they can double up on Tete, we could potentially get some joy from that. So that'll be an interesting something to see. And even if it's Hall or Kelly, the same applies. Hall can get forward, as can Kelly, to support Gordon. Joe Linton doing a job for the team and just sitting in that pocket there. So lots to be positive around. Look, I'm confident we can go there, particularly with this team if it's out, and really give Fulham a game. They've made some improvements. They've got some younger players in there, but as Emilio said, they still struggle to put the ball in the net. And if they can struggle again for another 90 minutes, we've got the players that can put the ball in the net given a moment's notice. And I think that could potentially be the difference in this game, mate.
Yeah, totally, mate. Completely agree.
So, so we've had a bit of a conversation about the lineup. We've talked about the lineup in itself. There were some other conversations as well, and this one's just come out. I thought we wouldn't be putting up Sammy Mockbell content anymore after the Mark Gay situation, but this has just dropped, and it's talking about various other clubs, Odegaard and whatever. But what was interesting in there is a little snippet on Newcastle to offer Gordon a 9 million salary. Talks of Newcastle sort of negotiating with Gordon a new contract. Are you all for Gordon getting a new contract? And if he does get a new contract, do you think there'll be a release clause in
there? Yes, I do think there will be. I think it's going to be common procedure now. I fully expect Isak to have one. We know Bruno had one. Whether he's still got one or not, we don't know. But I think a price will be in there. But it also, at the same time, it not just protects the club, but it also kind of sets the tone for Gordon going forward. Because I think we need to kind of put this Gordon to Liverpool rumour to bed. And what better way to do that than with a new contract? Yes, there could be a release clause in there. And yes, some people will say, oh, that means he's definitely leaving. Well, if that's the case, at least we know he's leaving for top dollar.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. I think it'll be very hard to get Gordon and Isak's in the same boat to get them to sign a new deal without a release clause in there. And like you said, if it means that we get top dollar for them or it prices teams out of a move for those players, it's kind of a win-win because we keep the player and we're very, very happy. In Gordon's case, we keep him. He continues to develop for Newcastle United. But if we have a release clause, it's a huge amount of money. What would you say is a realistic release clause for Anthony Gordon?
I think a realistic one, if we're being fair, I don't think it'd quite touch 100, purely because I think that's possibly one of the reasons why he signed it. I think it will probably be 90 million.
Yeah.
And if you're doubling your money on him, and then you move on and you reinvest it elsewhere. If he really wants to go, if the club comes in for him and he really wants to go, and let's be honest, you could argue there's only 2 clubs in the Premier League that he'd leave for, and I'd say that would be Man City and Liverpool. I think if either Man City or Liverpool came in for him, I don't see Man City coming in for him, by the way. They've got Savinho, they've got Grealish, they've got Doku. You could go on. They've got loads of wingers, so I don't see Man City coming in for him. But I think if Liverpool do come in for them and they, let the likes of Diaz go, maybe Gakpo go, I think, and do you know what, Pete? Sometimes you've got to put a little bit of real life into it. You know what I mean? If it's his boyhood club, and he really, really wants to go there, and he's really wanted to play there, sometimes these opportunities don't come around all that often. You've got to think of it from our point of view. You know, if we were playing for a Fulham or a Palace or a Wolves, and Newcastle come in, you're going to want to go. You're going to want to go. And yeah, he's got it good on Newcastle. I think he's really enjoying his time here. And I do think that he was let down a little bit in terms of, you know, I'm not going to name names, but, you know, the club kind of pawning him out, if rumours are to be believed. I think he probably was told and probably thought that he was one of the blue chip players who would never be released. And the fact that we were trying potentially to do a deal, you know, to try and save ourselves, I'm sure he understands why, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that we were trying to do that deal. And that will have left a bit of a sour taste in his mouth. And if your boy or club are coming for you, and, you know, his good friend Trent Alexander-Arnold's there, although for how long we don't know, you know, it's going to turn your head. So I think sometimes fans can be a little bit too easy to jump on him and criticise, because, as I say, if you were playing for another club and Newcastle come in, you're going to want to go. Even if you're playing a fantastic club who's got really good aspirations, if Newcastle come in for you, you're going to want to go.
Yeah. Hey, do you think that issue with maybe his head's turned, do you think it's dropped now? I think that's done. In terms of that you know, maybe being a little bit despondent or disillusioned with life at Newcastle after being kind of touted for that move. Ray, do you think that's water under a bridge now?
I think it's water under the bridge if the new contract gets signed, and I think it won't raise its head until the summer. I don't think anything will happen in January, because it's very, very unlikely that deals get done at that time of year. Oh, and, you know, Liverpool have just recently signed Chiesa as well. So that's another factor. So I think Anthony Gordon's probably looking at it and thinking, yeah, it's highly unlikely now, you know, that Liverpool we're going to go in for him. He will probably want to get his head down and try and have the best season that he possibly can. Try and get back in the Champions League. Make sure that he keeps that place in the England squad. But what is interesting, Pete, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it as well, is now that Anthony Gordon is in the England squad, he seems to be in favour. Lee Carsley started him for the last 2 games.
Yeah.
He started on the left wing. Last season, he had a fantastic season at left wing. Will Anthony Gordon do you think there's potential for Anthony Gordon to be, you know, in these contract negotiations, saying to Eddie Howe, saying to the owners, I'll sign a new deal, I'm happy to stay, I'm really enjoying it, I want to be on that left-hand side. I want the left-hand side. Do you think he could demand that? Do you think he will demand that?
I don't think he will demand it in his contract talks, personally. I don't think that will be happening. I think the conversation about him playing on the left will be happening daily. I think he wants to play on the left. I think it's well known. But I think within his character, within his nature, and within what he knows of Eddie Howe, he'll know that there'll be times where he'll have to be used in other positions, because he does have a variety of positions he can play, and he can be useful in more than one position. I think he's happy to do that job for a team. If he's starting to play there regular, for example, it always tends to be Barnes put on the right rather than Gordon, because I think there's an emphasis on Gordon playing on that left because of what he can do. So I do think he is being given sort of favourable treatment in terms of playing on the left in comparison to Barnes, and is keeping Barnes out the team off the back of that mostly. So I do think he's having that conversation, but I don't think it'll be part of the contract talks, because I just don't see him as that type of guy. I see him as raising his head and having the conversation with Eddie Howe on the training ground. Yeah, but I don't think it will be part of his contract talks. But that's just me. That's just my thoughts on it, mate.
Yeah. I found it interesting, because I was sitting there the other night and I was thinking, do you know what? If I'm Anthony Gordon, I'm thinking I want that left wing position, because we know, you know, in England, it looks pretty. I would say it looks pretty set in stone that Bukayo Saka is going to keep that right wing position. I think we know Bukayo Saka has got that right wing position wrapped up, sealed with a bow on it. So Anthony Gordon will be looking at that and thinking, well, I need to play left wing for Newcastle, because then automatically England are going to go, we need a left winger. Who's the best left winger in the Premier League? Oh, Anthony Gordon. You know, so it just makes me wonder whether he's going to be saying to Eddie Howe, or whether these discussions are taking place, as you say, where he's going, I want to play right wing, I don't want to play I want to play left wing, I don't want to play right wing, because he's then up against Saka.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like I say, I think he'll be having them constantly on the training ground, just not in contract talks. But like I say, that's just, I think he's happy to do that job for the team. But I equally, I think Barnes will be having that conversation too, because I think he'll want to play on the left as well. But yeah, ultimately, Ian's right. He's going nowhere. He'll be staying until at least the summer. And a contract and a release clause may well extend things for a little bit longer. And Sniffer is absolutely right on that situation. I think the thing about it is that a release clause could actually be the worst thing for Liverpool, because Liverpool, out of all those top teams, are the one team that don't necessarily have the type of money to just slap down and buy a particular player. They've done it once or twice, but they're not regulars in doing that. And whether they feel that they need to put that sort of money down on a left winger, when you've got the likes of Gakpo, when you've got the likes of Diaz, they've got players that can play in that position already. It's not a priority position for them. And if you put a release clause on that, and that's what they've got to get to, I do think it's going to push that priority down the boat a little bit longer. So if he signs a new deal, for me, I think he's here long term, regardless of the release clause, because I don't see another team in the Premier League putting that sort of money down to sign him with that release clause. So I do see it as a positive if that deal does get done.
And that's assuming, Pete, that's assuming he backs up this season with a season like he had last season. He'd have to, he hit double figures for assists and goals last season. If he does it again this season, who knows? Maybe City might look at him, but it's all ifs and buts, isn't it? It is all ifs and buts, and you're absolutely right when you say about Liverpool. The reason that Liverpool allegedly were interested in him is because they were sniffing around, because they thought there was a bargain to be had before. I mean, we saw some Liverpool fans, weren't we, saying, "Oh, Gomez, what was it? Gomez and 10 million or something," and it's like, no, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I think there was just an opportunity that they were hoping would be the case.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a few questions in the chat.
There is.
Predictions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yano asks, even Yano, hope you well, mate. Fellas, do you believe that Kelly on 150 grand per week is only considered third choice centre back, left back?
You answer that first. I just need to grab something 1 second.
Mm-hmm. So for me, Yano, 150 grand a week's a lot, but I suppose what we have to factor in is obviously we got him on a free transfer, so we didn't pay anything for him. So automatically his wages are going to go higher, which is to be expected, I suppose. And also, if you're looking at it from a positive point of view, it kind of shows the squad depth that we've got now. Because ultimately, if we're wanting to compete regularly in the Europa League, Champions League, the European spots, we're going to have players like that. I mean, you look at the Man City squads, the Liverpool squad, Arsenal squad, Tottenham squad, Man United squads. Man United have got players who are on 200-300 grand a week and they can't even get in the 11. So to have someone on 150 grand a week, yes, it is high, but we've got to factor in the fact that he was a free transfer, so his wages were always going to be high anyway. And also, well, I'll say unfortunately, not unfortunately at all, but success comes with having to pay a price. The more consistently that we're at the top end of the table, if we want to attract players to make ourselves even better, we're going to have to pay the wages to bring those players in. And me personally, I think having Lloyd Kelly as a third choice centre back, left back, that kind of shows you our levels. He was captain of Bournemouth last season, and he now plays for Newcastle, and he's not in our starting 11. So that kind of shows you how much we've improved strength-wise.
He is a top player. He had a superb season for Bournemouth last season, and some people might say, "Oh, it's just Bournemouth," but you look at the players like Semenyo. Yeah. I would take Semenyo at Newcastle United on that right hand side. He has looked very, very good this season. And to be fair, from back of the net, the Bournemouth boys, when we did the kind of the Kelly handover, he said, "Semenyo, watch out for him. He'd be a player that would do well at Newcastle United." Absolutely. The thing with Kelly, though, Is he on 150 grand a week? Is that not rumored? I don't know if that.
It probably is rumored, but it doesn't surprise me, Pete, because he was a free transfer. So if we paid a fee for him, he'd have been on 90 grand a week probably. So the fact that he is on that wouldn't surprise me. It's not like a Matty Target on 100 grand a week. I mean, that's a slightly different ball game, isn't it? But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
But this is the thing: in order to secure players, you know, it's a case of you don't pay a fee, but you pay them more in wages over the course of the length of their contract, which, you know, is still cheaper than paying a fee for them. Yeah, it works out cheaper. So it might seem like a lot, and he might be on more than other players in the squad, but actually, in order to secure him and get him for free, which is going to save millions for Newcastle to spend, we've had to give him that bigger wage packet if that is the case. I'm still not convinced that he is on that much, but if he is, fair play. But we've secured the player, absolutely. But I just think Lloyd Kelly. He will come good for Newcastle United. He'll prove his worth for sure. He's just setting himself into the club. I think we're easing him in as well. I think he'll play plenty of games, plenty of minutes this season. Wouldn't be surprised to see him start against AFC Wimbledon. Wouldn't be surprised to see him start on Saturday at Fulham. And I think, like you said, having a player of that ability to come in as backup to Lewis Hall or to compete with Lewis Hall for the first for a starting berth is what we've been crying out for so long. You know, we've had Matt Target that can't stay fit. We've had Jamal Lewis who can't stay fit, and neither of them have played well when they've come in. But we've got a player that can actually do the business now, providing he stays fit and he competes with Lewis Hall. It's a great situation to be in. If we just had that additional right centre back, I think the right centre back berth with Botman close to coming back would be the centre back situation would be sorted. The right back situation sorted. Tino and Trippier. We've got a good pool of players there with backups that could really be absolutely solid, and you could mix and match and still be a really good defensive unit. So we're going in the right directions for sure.
If you're thinking, Pete, like you say, it's great having these floater players as well, because you've got Fabian Schär and then a new right centre back if and when they come in. You've got Emil Kraft, who can play right centre back but also play at right back. So he's your third choice. He's our right-sided Lloyd Kelly, and then on the left you've got Botman and Bairn in the left centre back position, and then you've got Lloyd Kelly, who can also play left centre back, but he can also play left back. So really, we've got an absolute luxury of options. So you're absolutely right. You know, we're really well covered if and when we bring that right centre back in.
Definitely, mate.
Yeah,
definitely. Anything else on there?
Yes, I've got one more question, and then I've also got a question for you as well, Pete, because I think we need to talk about it. But I'll go to the last question first, and that's from Steve Reynolds, and he says, "Has Isak underperformed, Pete, so far this season?"
What I'm about to say, a lot of people might not agree with, and there's two sides to it. First of all, I mean, ultimately, he has underperformed. If you look at the pool of teams that we've played against, Southampton at home, albeit we're down to 10 men, but Southampton at home, Bournemouth away, Tottenham at home, which he liked to score in, and he did score in, and then Wolves. You would have expected him to have a better start to the season by now. That's what we would have expected. However, exactly what Mark's just said. The service to him direct is not great.
Yeah,
it hasn't been great. And this is part of the issue. We've got dynamic wingers. Yeah. I can agree with you on that. What I will say is that you've got dynamic wingers that like to cut in, but and like to score goals themselves, and sometimes that can be detrimental to your striker because you're not providing them a service. You're not whipping balls in because they're cutting in and trying to shoot. So it's a different type of setup to a natural winger going down the wing and crossing balls into your striker, giving the striker direct service. So I do think that hampers us slightly. So yeah, lack of service definitely, but I will add, I don't think he's been given 100% on the pitch at all times. Whether that's a tactic, whether that's the new style under Bunce to maintain their fitness over the course of 90 minutes, I don't know. But there's times where I would be expecting him to press, and he doesn't, being the guy that leads the line. And so I'm a bit like, should he be doing more? But I'm not going to put too much emphasis on him, because it could well be a tactic. It could well be something that the team, how Bunce and the tactic around what they do within game. So it's one of those things. But I would like to see him press a little bit more, use his pace to close down a little bit more, work off the ball a little bit more. But there could be a reason for that. But they're the things that I've just noticed. But yeah, look, Alexander Isak's, for me, he's been playing at 40-50% this season. There's so many more levels that we've got for Alexander Isak. He's one of the best strikers in the Premier League and one of the best strikers in Europe. He will get better for us, no doubt about it. And look at where we are, considering he's only scored 1 goal and hasn't been playing amazing. When he does hit the ground running, and when he does start getting the ball in the back of the net, it can only be a good thing for Newcastle United, that's for sure.
100%, mate, 100%. Just a quick one before I ask you the last question. Ian CR65, I haven't been on X today, really. I've put a tweet out before, but that was it, really. But apparently there's a new Adidas logo in the East Stand seat.
Yeah, apparently so. And if that is what it's rumored to be, it looks fantastic. So I'm just looking at it now, but I think your internet's been down today. Mine's been
it's been awful.
It's been shocking.
Mine's been awful.
Absolutely shocking. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a quick pic, and I'm just going to I'll send it and put it on the screen very, very quickly.
Yeah, brilliant.
Just so we can see. Let me do that very quickly. It'll take me like 30 seconds.
No worries.
Looks fantastic. Not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you this question, Pete, while you're doing that, and you'll be able to do both, because I know you're a brilliant multitasker, Pete. I'm gonna mention Clonlad's question, because it kind of leads into a little bit where I'm going with it as well. But Clonlad says, could J7 start up front for Isak and Tonali come into midfield? Now, I don't want J7 up front, the Clonlad. I'm going to say that now. But my question to you, Pete, was going to be, we love playing devil's advocate on this show. Let's fast forward to the weekend. Alexander Isak's out. Eddie Howe does his press conference. Sorry, I'm back now. Sorry. Loads of suspense there. Oh, I love that. Yeah, just do that. I should have asked him a ball question, but it's not Michael Pomar. I'm going to spoil it now. It's not. But it's a question we've all got on our minds, I think. So I'm playing devil's advocate, as I said before. I don't know what you heard. Going to play devil's advocate. Eddie Howe press conference. He doesn't normally reveal things, but let's just say he does. Alexander Isak's out at the weekend. What are you doing in that front berth, that number 9 position? What are you doing if you're Eddie Howe, if Alexander Isak's not fit and Callum Wilson's not fit?
This is what I'm doing.
Yes.
This is what I'm doing. Hey, Chris, isn't this the reason why we bought a third choice striker?
100%.
We paid the money to buy him and to develop him and get him to learn off Isak and Wilson. Play the man. Okay, I watched him play in the Seller Cup, and the team that he played against weren't amazing in Stade Brest, but they were Champions League club. And he absolutely tore them to shreds for the time that he was on the pitch. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because this guy, Will Asula, is a focal point.
Yes.
I'm not expecting him to go and score 3, 4, 5 goals, but what he will do, he will occupy the centre backs. He's big and strong. The amount of free kicks he won against Stade Brest, because he's willing to put his body there on the line and make it difficult. He'll make runs in the behind because he's pacey. And what he does, he takes the emphasis away from Barnes, Gordon, or Murphy, whoever's playing on the wing, and allow them to do their thing in there.
Yeah.
Play him.
Yeah.
If Isak's not fit and it's more serious than I think it is, because I think Isak's going to start. I think he's going to be fit and he'll play. I wouldn't be surprised to hear in Eddie's presser tomorrow that Isak's training tomorrow and he'll be fit. But I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Or do you think Eddie will use this opportunity to go, oh, I don't want to talk about Isak, just to give Marco Silva maybe something to think about, because we know Eddie Howe loves that. Will he be enjoying these rumours even if Isak's fit, because he'll think it will keep Marco Silva, guessing?
Yeah, well, we know Eddie Howe, and we've seen his press conferences. He'll want to keep him guessing for sure. It'll be the same with Barnes. It'll be the same with Gordon. It'll be the same with Joe Linton. It'll keep them all guessing with regards to that, and that's the beauty of it all. But I really do hope that they ask this question, and I might even drop Jordan and Dom a message just to ask about the Will Asuda situation, because if Isak's not fit, are you going to play Will Asuda? Will he be getting the opportunity? Because he's not had the opportunity yet so far this season. And I do think he should play. I do think he should play. We're investing in a player to come into this first team. He's not gone on loan, this young lad. He's come in and he's part of the first team. If we haven't got a striker available, he plays, in my opinion. Yeah. Same for you?
I 110% agree. I mean, I know a few people in the chat. Lisa said that she thinks it'll be Barnes, Gordon, Murphy, and then somebody else, Michael Pomar. I expect the front three to be Barnes, Gordon, Miggy. But it just shows, doesn't it? There's loads and loads of options, and that is something that's nice. Michael Pomar says Gordon will play up front. It's as obvious as going to the radiator shed if you need to fix up your home. I mean, it's a good point. It's a good point. The last part is a good point. But yeah, for me, it's got to be Will Asuda. And I really like the point that you made, Pete, in that, why upset the apple cart? Why upset the two wing positions to accommodate the central when you've got a central striker? This isn't last season when we didn't have a central striker and it was like, right, someone's going to have to go in the middle. Give Will Asuda a chance. Give him a run out. You're right. He makes those runs. He's naturally a number 9. He knows where he needs to be. He's been training with the lads now. Eddie Howe, he knows the system. Give him a chance up front. But you're right. We're not expecting him to go and score 2, 3, 4 goals. But if he plays the role and he allows Gordon to play in that left wing position and Barnes to play in that right wing position, it's only going to help us as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. And that's what we would do if Isak isn't fit for Saturday. Just really quickly, lovely picture of what it supposedly is in the East Stand. It looks a little bit like this.
Oh, okay.
Looks lovely.
Yeah.
So the Adidas logo, the sign is apparently in place. So
brilliant.
Yeah, look forward to seeing that when Man City come to town. That is for sure. But yeah, great picture there. And as Lisa said, the Newcastle United Supporters Trust tweeted it out. So if you haven't seen it, go check that out on socials. But there's a picture there as an example. Anything else before we come to our predictions, mate?
I don't think so. I think we've covered pretty much everything. And obviously we'll all be waiting with bated breath for Eddie Howe's press conference tomorrow morning. I still don't think he'll reveal anything. I don't think he'll say anything. But I think this weekend, Pete, for me, this is the most interesting lineup selection I think we've had for a long time. I know we say that most weeks, and we're still enjoying the fact that we can actually choose different options because we've actually got options, which is a nice change. But I think it will be interesting, and I hope he goes with the lineup that we selected. But we'll have to wait and see. But the main thing is, as people have already put in the predictions in the chat, the main thing is that we can try and go to the Craven Cottage and get maximum points, because if we do, we've set ourselves up lovely for that Man City game.
Absolutely. Could end up being a top of the table clash if we get the points on Saturday going into that Man City game, and there'll be a right buzz around that game for sure.
100%.
Man City come to town, and it could actually raise our confidence levels. But you're right. We need to get the job done. And look, he's in the chat. Here he is. I hope you all, Daz. Get your predictions in. Predictions are coming in, and we'll go for it very shortly. So for me, I'm going to go Newcastle United win. I've been going 2-1s recently. I just think games are going to be being quite tight, but I'm going to go with confidence, and I'm going to say that Newcastle are going to win 2-0 and get a clean sheet on Saturday. Have I stolen it from you?
Hey, I've been toying with 2-1. I keep thinking 2-1, 2-1, but my head just keeps saying to me 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. And yeah, mate, I'm all for it. 2-0. I did toy with 1-0 as well, but I think we're good for a couple. Good for the couple. So I'm going to say 2-0 and a clean sheet. Yeah.
2-0 and a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Happy with that. Absolutely buzzing.
We've got a few ones in here, Pete. We've got 3-1 Newcastle from Tom Dixon. We've got Genie Esteban-Alden with a draw. I tell you what, though, Genie Esteban, a draw wouldn't be a bad result. It wouldn't. My favourite saying, a point away from home's never bad. And Fulham at home, decent side, really decent side. Paul Spragg says 2-1 the Toon. Magda Bates says 4-1 the Toon. Claire G 3-1. Michael Pomar doing his inner Keith role. I like that. That's like, oh, good lads. Sorry, chat has just got me cut out. Hope Luca's good, mate. Hope Luca's good. Sniffer's saying 3-1 Cottages. Come on, Sniffer. Come on,
man. Come on.
Aaron saying 3-2. 5-0 from Raised. I like that. Raised cooking. I like that. No burn being nutmegged. Win and we are top. 4-1 Magda Bates. The Popple Gam. Oh God. The pop images. Yeah, sorry, I just can't read. The pop images 5-1. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, loads of different scores. But yeah, both going to. When was the last time me and you agreed on a score, Pete? Must have been a while ago.
Yeah, it's got to be a while ago. Mark's gone 1-0. I like that 1-0.
1-0. Yeah.
1-0.
I'd love a win and a clean sheet. I would.
Yeah.
It'd be brilliant.
Great way to bounce into that game next week. But yeah, you're right. Look, most important thing was to get the points, and so many of us are saying that we're going to get points on the board, whether it's a draw, whether it's a win. I think we're going bouncing in that game with confidence. And look, this is the thing. Like, we've not played well. We've got the points, but those performances will come, and if it clicks, we could be 2-3-0 up within the first half an hour. Like we play well in patches, and we're unstoppable for some teams. So hopefully we see a little bit of that on Saturday. But look, most important thing is let's get the points on the board, and let's make sure that we're in the best position possible. And if we win, not only will we go top of the league, I think we will eclipse the start to the season in our first 5 games that we had in the 95-96 season, which I think that's 12 points. So we'll go on to 13. So we will actually eclipse our best, I think, Premier League start from 95-96 if we get that win on Saturday. So lots of incentives there. Players look fit and firing, ready to go. We just need to do the business. Look forward to playing a certain tune on Saturday evening. We will see. But yeah, that will be good. And hopefully,
it was.
Hopefully we are. And me and Chris will go. He's gone for it. We've not even played, man.
Oh, we've got a dream, haven't we? We've got a dream.
We have. And you know what? What's really weird for that, and just to say that before we wrap up, Champions League's on now.
Yeah, weird.
Thursday
night Champions League.
I didn't even know. I had no idea. I thought it was happening. The other games happening next week. But anyway, massive thanks to the chatters. Brilliant as always in the chat. Thank you for all your support. Comments, questions, anything you put in the chat is a great community and great to have you on there. And thanks to Emilio. Make sure you go check his content out, his new content. The Fulham Pulse is his new content now, and we'll make sure we get the additional information up so you can go and follow and subscribe and do all that good stuff to watch his content, because he's a great guy, really good guy, and knows his football as well. Chris, big thanks to you, mate. Always a pleasure, never a chore to talk Newcastle United. And of course, it's a massive game Saturday.
It's huge. Have you seen that, Pete, just off Daz?
Oh,
A new how?
didn't know that.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Just seen it now.
And I don't mean Andy.
Yeah. I've just seen it. It
Have
is
you seen
new.
it? Are we good? Oh, we
We're
haven't
gonna
seen it,
check it out.
guys. We haven't seen it.
Yeah. I've not seen it, but we're about to right now. But massive thanks for joining us. Make sure you click that like on the way out. Let's get us up to well over 100 as how many were in the chat over the course of the show tonight. Look, we pray for 3 points on Saturday. We'll speak to you soon on the match review. And of course, we do love playing away. Chris, what do we say?
How'd you like that?
Take care, guys.
How you like